everybody that's stream of, and as you some of my know has been video where I glove and like up and will I want Moto phase have ever owned, and it's I sold here in my things about that actually, in fact, 100 is no longer well it and the engine to bike, and that leaves us with the CX500 and this 2019 in Chieftain. Why on earth did I go? We all know that with Moto Guzzi or anything like that, or any quality problem or anything like that, that bike was actually a really cool and good bike. But it actually truly happened. The machine was defined to my insurance. Money just to insure it, because there was no definition of it, and I tried getting it placed with other places, but nobody could define the MGX 21 Flying Fortress. So it really was an expensive deal to have a payment on a motorcycle, and the type of insurance that was required was extremely expensive. It had nothing to do with the reliability of the motorcycle or anything. It just had everything to do with how much it actually cost to insure. Operationally wise, it costs no more to, operate and get things done, maintenance and all that, than this bike. It's just that there was so much extra money going into that bike for insurance. So whenever you changed over, this bike here literally saved me like $90 a month, and that's a big deal. So you got to go with what's a little bit cheaper. The second thing was fuel economy. And when you go to get a touring bike, you want a touring bike that's capable of having some long legs. And the one thing is, the MGX had a pretty decent sized tank at around 5.5 gallons, but it just did sucked gas down than the night rod I actually had before. So the night rod was notorious for not having good gas mileage. 32 to 34 mpg all the time, 39. The MGX actually would get 29 every once in a while, especially if you were just playing with it. I mean, if you had it in full out sport mode, that thing was just constantly sucking gas. It didn't matter if you put it in rain mode or touring mode, it really got anywhere between 29 and 35 to the gallon. It never got any better than that. I got one time, and it was one of those probably fluke things where everything worked right, where I got around 42 to the gallon, and I was hoping that would normalize as mileage piled onto the bike, and it simply did not materialize. So unfortunately, when it comes down to it, it was just a little bit expensive to opt. Comes to, well, look at everybody being nice to motorcyclists today. Let me go. But anyway, it just came to how much it costed to operate it between insurance and fuel. Fuel wouldn't have bothered me so much if it wasn't for the insurance. I'll put it that way. If the insurance wasn't just so darn high on the dumb thing, I would have probably just kept it around, because like I said, fuel was not really a bad deal, because my other vehicle's a pickup, and that thing only gets 19, 20, 22 to the gallon best, and that's on a very good day. But it was what it was. It was a great machine. I actually am going to try to get another Moto Guzzi in the future. That is one thing that is definitely in the works, and sometime you know, whenever it happens, however it happens. I'd love to get a V7, definitely a V7. That way I get the fuel economy, but I got the goose, and that thing I can ride and have fun in every mission as well. So that's what I'm looking at doing in the future, is getting a little bit smaller Moto Guzzi, but definitely getting another one again in the future. So why the Chieftain? Well, like I said, cheaper insurance. It's a bike that I have come to love over the time. I mean, the first few rides, it wasn't all set on to me, but as time continued and time passed and modifications were made by Polaris and Indian Motorcycle, the way the motorcycle has come into its age is just fantastic. I mean, they have listened to us as riders. They have an extremely good suspension setup, extremely good you know, option set that comes with these machines. They have the power adjustable windscreen right off the bat. They have, you know, the ABS and everything, no additional costs. You just buy the bike and it has everything already on there. You don't have the different levels except for the very base Chieftain. When you get a limited or a dark horse or a classic, you automatically get all the frills and spills and everything. You don't have to worry about adding on additional charges just to get the motorcycle you were looking for. And I have now, as you can see, put 3,034 miles on this machine. About as much mileage actually as I did the Moto Guzzi before I ended up selling it. And it has given me a lot to think about on this Chieftain, because like I said, I would love, and I posted this on Facebook too, I would love for a manufacturer or dealership to be brave and allow me to take a motorcycle for an extremely long term, you know, maybe 3 months or 3,000 miles, something. And the reason being is because you don't really get to know a machine until you get that many miles on it. So now that I've got 3,000 miles on it, I've had this bike actually since November of 2019. I've just grown to love this machine even more and more. In fact, I take it almost everywhere. I mean, this bike is so balanced and so light compared to most of your touring bikes. It's okay to take around town. Yes, it's 97 degrees. Yes, it's air cooled. Yes, it's a hot engine. But the thing is that it handles itself really well even in the city, in stop and go traffic, and of course on the interstates and the back roads and as well. It handles itself super well. I take this thing to the store, I take it into town, I take it everywhere. I have come to just grab this bike more and more often, and the other ones do sit a little bit more, the Scout and the CX, because this one is just so easy to use still, and it's surprisingly light enough and nimble enough to make it around without much issue. You got very good command of the road from this machine, and that's something I'm always looking at, is how well machine responds in the city and everything, and what it can do, you know, on the highway and all that. So being that I've rode this thing for over 3,000 miles, I've got, like I said, some respect for it, but I've also, you know, got some criticism of it now. It's something you don't feel on your 20 to 40 minute ride whenever you're at the dealership. And like I said, if my audio's fine, thank you. If you know, video's fine, I'm hoping it is, because I'm on the move, just trying this out for the first time. So if everything's working, I can't tell, I can't see a, you know, comments or anything like now, because there's nothing in front of me. I'd rather just ride. So but anyway, so the criticisms I have of the Chieftain is that I definitely need something besides the stock seat. Took this bike out on a straight just full tank run from start to finish. Took over 4 hours to complete, and I have to say that after that 4 hours, the rear end was very, very numb, and not exciting walk around after I got off for a moment to stretch and shake everything out. But the thing is, I didn't feel any like pins and needles or other vibrations or anything that caused any other discomfort. It was mostly just in the saddle, that the saddle needs a little bit more bolstering, a little bit more work to it to make that great. Now, some people are talking about Indians and the heat that they put off. Now, I will say that the earlier versions of this bike did indeed have a heat issue, that's for sure. But they added in the cylinder deactivation system, and they've changed a few things on it since then. And to be honest, even at this higher heat, even in this time where it's 97 degrees right now, it really isn't that bad. You can ride it for hours. In that 4-hour ride, it was around 88 to 93 depending on where I was, and it really didn't do anything to me. I didn't really feel any heat from the motorcycle itself. I more or less got, you know, used to it and comfortable, so I wasn't really caring about any heat or anything like that. And that's a good thing on a big touring bike, is not feeling heat. And my passengers do not feel heat either. And that's going to be the other criticism too, is the passenger seat. You definitely need to have something for them. It's not a very thick back seat, it's kind of a thin one, so it does kind of, you know, not support the passenger for a long time. In fact, the passenger is going to maybe last an hour and a half, while you can last, like I said, I lasted 4 hours in that one trip without much issue. Like I said, I had to stand up and stretch for a moment, definitely for sure, when I was getting fuel. But other than that, it really wasn't bad, and I could have continued on had the bike not run out of gas. I just wish that the saddle would allow such a longer ride as well. But anyway, so there's no heat hitting the passenger or anything like that, and everything is actually pretty good on this bike. That's the one thing. Everything it does is very well, except for, like I said, long range seat comfort. And to be honest, this is just a bagger, and most people don't treat baggers as a full touring bike. They'll do that with a full dresser, they'll have their full trunk, they'll have everything like that. And that's what manufacturers usually do, is they treat them as such. They treat them more as a cruiser for, you know, maybe short hops and things, with some saddlebags, with some storage, but they don't treat them as a full-fledged bagger. And that's why you see the Street Glides and the Road Glides and the Chieftains with these smaller, squared-off, boxier seats, and you see the Roadmasters and the Ultras and all those others with the big, thick seating. And trust me, I like the big, thick seating. I've come to respect that for sure. But overall, everything on this bike just works well, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's set up the way I like it. I love the ride command system. It's very quick, it's very easy to operate. You have two joysticks, you can, or not joysticks necessarily, but two paddles to operate it. That way you can choose your settings, do everything. You do have the joysticks as well on the handlebars, but you can flip through the screens. You can actually customize the screens. There's little widgets there, and you can actually change what's on the split screen on the fly. It's really intuitive. This is, of course, is the older version. 2020 updated the ride command system with one that actually taps the cell network, and that one can actually pull live traffic and live weather, whereas this one is strictly just GPS and ride computers and infotainment, or music, or whatever you want to say. So everything on it just works really well for me, and like I said, after all these miles on this machine, it literally has become a favorite of mine. And I do miss, for sure, the CB1100, and I do miss the MGX21, but putting them both together into this, I don't regret it. I really wish I could have kept them. I just needed something that could handle the stress and everything that I put on them, because I do use these as everyday commuters. I do use these to carry equipment and everything for motovlogging. I do use these quite often. These are my primary modes of transportation. So I would rather get something that can handle the utility and the everyday work and be a workhorse, and this has definitely done that. And it's always fun to have the other bikes as well. And like I said, this is the 6-year mark of this channel. We're at around 9,700 subscribers, and I thank every single one of you guys for joining me during this time. I'm just a simple, everyday person. I'm not paid by anybody to do this. I've been picking up some sponsors along the way, and I thank Law Tigers and Derek Enloe and Doug Crawford and everybody. They really thank AGV Sport for outfitting our team with the safety gear that we have today. All these people are really awesome. They're in descriptions and other videos, and I've got them in my links page and everything. If you go to the About section, they're all there. Check them out. Let them know that I sent you, basically. And I'm really thankful for everybody who's helped us pull together. And being at the 6-year mark, we're getting close to 10,000. I know I'm not all terrific. I know I'm not a chase on 2 wheels or any of those big. I definitely want to try to get this to be more that full-time deal, be able to go out and travel and be the normal person on a motorcycle doing the reviews and everything, not somebody that has been a racer or has, you know, done that stuff in the past. I just want to have a normal perspective of an everyday rider, and I know that's what a lot of you guys appreciate, and I definitely want to give that to you guys for sure. And I know some of you probably like, well, you didn't do that with the Bolt. Well, when you get tortured enough about the Yamaha Bolt, you just finally snap and you let loose on it. And that's exactly what happened. It wasn't clickbait, it wasn't anything like that, but it was personal. And a lot of people got that message that it definitely was when it came to the Yamaha Bolt. So yes, negative review. Yes, I don't like before. The FXDR is one I didn't like. You know, and the Heritage Softail original, a lot better ride, but the original Heritage Softail with the old twin cam, I was not a fan of. I thought that thing did not ride as described body in the world, and I just was like, this is just another Harley kind of deal, and I never saw anything of it. So that's just how it is. You kind of ride all these bikes, and there's some I don't post. There's bikes I don't like out there. Video posted the video because of how negative it got. And if some of you've seen the story on Facebook, and did post a long comment on YouTube as well, it was just one of those things where like I said, it started out as a normal video. Everything was normal. I walked around, I talked about it, talked about the specs, did everything I normally do, and then I got on it and for 5 minutes described the beginning part of the ride. Then for 5 minutes it was just pure silence, and then it just started a 20-minute rant of why am I on this machine. And that was just something I didn't want to post. And I've had a few bikes like that. The Honda Fury is another one that comes to mind, where I rode it and I just did not appreciate its ride at all. I just got to the point of silence, of there's nothing really good to say about this bike or continue on this conversation anymore. It's not a great bike. So I've done some bikes I'm just not a big fan of. Some bikes that I regret losing video. Something happened with audio or GoPro or something. You know, the Honda Shadows one, I really like that bike. It's a great bike to ride around, and I missed that video. There's some other videos as well that every time I ride a Hayabusa, it's cursed. Every time I get on one, I review it, everything's great, I talk about it, all's well. I go to the video and a battery died, or the audio connection failed, or something weird always happens with a Hayabusa. Kind of like the same thing with one of my dealer partners, House of Kawasaki. There's a joke that every time I went there it was cursed, and one of it, the camera wasn't even the problem. The camera had all the battery charge in the world, but its remote did not have a battery charge. And instead of letting the camera just live, Sony apparently thinks that if the remote is on and the camera was turned on by said remote, that if the battery dies, then therefore the camera must die as well. And that lost a really good video, and I was not happy about that one. At least they let me re-ride the Z900 RS after that incident. But there's always been some funny things happen in this last 6 years. You know, like I said, I'm just an amateur, just a regular guy, and we definitely want to, as a team, get more videos, especially from view. You know, we're not a well known. It's boring. These things still have great places to visit. awesome food, that's for sure. That's something we definitely want to do as we go along, is add trips you can do on a motorcycle. Go through the mountain roads down in Talamina, so there's actually something to watch. If you guys want to look that up, look up Talamina Drive, Oklahoma and Arkansas. It's really, really pretty down there. I've never done it on a bike, done it on a car every time, and really need to change that. But from here, it's about 4 hours away. Getting everybody ready for that kind of trip, it takes 4 hours, 4.5 hours to get there, 50 some minutes to about an hour to ride the actual Talamina, and then of course coming back, that is, you know, easily going to be, with stops and gas and food and everything, a 10 to 12 hour ordeal. And some folks are not quite ready for that 10 to 12 hour ordeal yet, and I'm working at it, but hopefully we'll get down there. Hopefully we get to show you some other places that are fairly close. We got one that's about 2.5 hours away, maybe 3 hours at most, and that's going to be Lake Murray, one of the prettier rides in Oklahoma. If you go around 77S, even taking Highway 77 down there, it's pretty good looking, but it's still a lot of flat land just like this getting there. But it is Oklahoma, it is what it is. We do what we can with what we got, kind of deal. And you know, it'd be nice to definitely build this channel up, you know, sell some t-shirts. The Teespring store is still up, get some money to go traveling, and that way we can take these bikes to the $1 Million Highway, take these bikes over to, you know, the Tail of the Dragon, you know, all these wonderful things. I know the Pig Trail over in Arkansas. There's so many great places to ride, but it's just called getting the money and getting the time, and being that everybody is a full-time employee, you know, elsewhere at this time, we're not able to just jump on the bike and take off to these places and do these amazing rides that we plan to just yet. That's why we want to eventually get to that point of being able to do these rides as an everyday person on these wonderful roads and give you guys better perspective and long-term perspectives. So if you guys out and you're part of a dealer network, or you're part of a, you know, a manufacturer or somebody like that, and you like what we do, reach out to us. Send me a message through my email. It's in my about section. Send me a message through my Facebook. You guys, if you haven't liked my Facebook page, I do try to update that as best I can. I also do have Twitter. One of my teammates actually runs the Twitter account, and because I can't keep up with all the social media stuff as busy as I am in the background with the job that I've got. But they always, if there's a question or something, they always forward it to me, so I do live answer that, basically. So it is me that's answering, it's just through a third party kind of deal. But if you guys haven't liked those, go ahead and do that. And like I said, if you guys are dealers or manufacturers or anything like that, and you're willing to give us a chance to ride your bikes long term, and you're not worried about it, just let us know. And that way we can start getting more and more miles under these bikes, and that way we can give more informed reviews, better reviews, stronger reviews is the best way to put it. So at any rate, this is the Rabid Hedgehog, and thank you guys for joining me on my first live stream. I hope it's working. Like I said, I've got you guys in my pocket, so I have no idea if it's even working or not. I'll pull over here and see if it's working here. Let's see, find a little spot. I think that's pretty much all over here. All right. Pull over here to the side, see if this is working. At least my phone hasn't lost any reception, at least judging by the deal here. Let's see here. Oh, looks like it's still going. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the first live stream. So, you know, let me know in the comments below what else you'd like to hear me talk about, what you guys want to talk about during these streams, and that way we can start a community here and have a good time riding. So at any rate, keep that shiny side up, folks.